JB, you're gonna be backwards.
Ready. Order in the court! I have order in this court! Ladies and gentlemen of the comic community, welcome here to the first official comic book court. This is a place for members of the comic community to meet and discuss issues pertinent to the community and a comic culture. It's a place where we can debate important ideas and come to a consensus as a team. I am your judge for this occasion, Mr. JB of Discovery Bay Comics. The rules of this court are as follows. We have lawyers for the prosecution, and we have lawyers for the defense who are here to debate. They will be given a few minutes each for opening statements. This will be followed by the calling of witnesses who will give expert testimony and present evidence to this court. Each witness will be given a timed opening statement followed by a timed questions period for each lawyer to debate the information presented. After each side has called their witnesses, I will give jury instructions and we can begin. Oh, wait a minute. We will finish with a timed closing remark from both sides. Sorry. After which I will give the jury instructions and we can begin to tally the votes from you, the chat, who are the deciders of the justice in this court. Please do not vote before the time as it will not be counted. You must wait until I type in the chat that voting has begun, and then I will count those votes. You are only allowed one vote, so people who repeat themselves, it's at my discretion to toss your vote. The discussion for tonight centers around the Tom King DC's event series, Heroes in Crisis. And the issue at hand is this. Is Heroes in Crisis a good event series? You, the jury, will decide this based upon information presented in this court. So please listen carefully to all the screaming and tantrums. We have performed a coin toss to decide who will go first in each portion of the proceedings. The results are as follows. First to present their opening statements will be Jason. First to present a witness will be John. And first to give closing arguments will be Jason. If people attempt to go over their time limit or ignore the questions from the lawyers, the judge will decide their fates. Thank you. We can commence with opening statements. Jason.
Yeah, this is an open and shut case, really. I think the comic book community is speaking out because it's so outrageous. It's just ridiculous that people even think this is good. The defendant, John, as he's known as King Joffrey. He's used to being a winner. He's used to, holding a monarchy. And that doesn't fly here in this democracy under King, his mighty JB. So he will not allow any kingdom monarchy stand in this court of law. Here I have 2 pages of facts. Facts, not opinions, but facts that we will go over. And I would love to read all of these, but there's no way I can do it in 1 minute and 40 seconds. And I will be asking the people, the witnesses tonight, these facts and see how they respond to them. And that's enough for me. That's all I have to say.
All right. John, to you. Hold on, let me reset the timer.
Yeah, did you want to say anything for the chat, Your Honor, before I
actually, yes, I would like to address the chat. First, thanks everybody for coming, man. This is going to be fun. I hope we're going to have a good time with it. I want to really quickly go over the people in the chat. Looks like I Got Issues is in there. Old Wolf 65, Gray Matter Hulk. Thanks for joining us. It's your boys Comics. Thanks for stopping by. TJ the Slab Dragon Watson is here. Thank you for joining us tonight. We've got I'm going to do my best. Jeffrey Comic-Con Henson. Barbarian Kung Fu, thanks for joining us tonight. Whitewell Comics, Chris Barrett, Drew Manchu is here. Jack Yo, JP's Budget Collecting. All right, everybody in the chat, we're going to have a good time. I am going to try and keep us to time because I don't want us to go over. John, 3 minutes. Starts now.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, and may it please the court, I'm here to defend the work of art that I believe is being maligned by the comic community. There is king hate in this community, and it is a somewhat overwhelming experience. Believe it or not, I'm actually, though, not here to tell you that you have to love this series. As the saying goes, opinions are like assholes, and we've all got them. Instead, I'm here to speak for a minority opinion. My hope is that through our discussion and our discourse, the value of opinions can be upheld. In this country, it's currently a little difficult to even hear a dissenting point of view. However, I strongly believe that this is a place where we can listen, have some reason and conversation, and this will conquer a difference of ideals. I'm hopeful that here in this hallowed place, the High Court of Comics, before this judge and jury, in this, the very first historic case to ever be debated in such a forum, we can find the ears open, the reason at work, and this conversation can still bring us closer rather than divide us. You're going to hear a lot of perspectives tonight from many valued and intelligent members of our community, people whose channels are listed in the description below for this video. But you've listened to them before. And these are opinions from people that you've grown to respect. And in some cases, you might even be seeking them out for advice when you need it. So what is your job? You need to decide how to weigh these perspectives and come to your own reasonable conclusion. Should Heroes in Crisis stand alongside other great DC event stories, or should it be cast aside and scorned simply because it challenges our view of heroes? We're going to talk about things like continuity, Elseworlds, event comics, character consistency, and the many impressive stories of Tom King. But the truth is, none of that matters. The only truth that matters is the one that we find in between the covers of a really good story. And this story, Heroes in Crisis, is worthy of your time and attention, and it's worthy because it offers us truths. Thank you.
That's excellent. We have warnings to the court here. Jason, there's no contaminating the jury pool. Stay out of the chat. Yes, no questions only can be answered in the chat.
I object.
Okay?
I feel like John went over 5 minutes. I don't know. I'm not sure.
No,
about
actually,
that,
he still has 25 seconds left if you'd like.
I will have you know I've been timing that regularly. There's no way I went over. I've done that speech many times.
All right.
And hold on, I have one more thing. This is just a little bit from a boy, a little air guitar.
Yeah.
All right, let's go.
Awesome.
First witness.
May it please the court, I'm calling to the witness stand Mr. White Whale Comics.
White Whale Comics to the stand, please.
And before we get going too much here, Jason, what is your first witness so that I can prep them to be able to call in?
It'd be Drew Manchu.
All right, I will prep that so that I'm ready to invite him at the same time that we are swearing in Mr. Alec from White Whale Comics. I appreciate your time this evening. I know it's late there on the East Coast.
It is.
So you're going to be allowed a 2-minute opening statement, and I believe that His Honor is going to time you on that. I set the camera on you so you can begin when the judge says.
When it pleases Your Honor.
Begin.
So I'll be honest, I'm not a big fan of event series, but Heroes in Crisis isn't an event series. It is an allegory. The point isn't whodunit or the Speed Force or time travel. The point is sanctuary. The point is that even heroes aren't perfect, that we all struggle, that we all have doubt and guilt and regret, even those who are seemingly the strongest among us, even our heroes. But those struggles can't be shared publicly because it makes people uncomfortable to talk about depression or guilt or suicide or PTSD. So instead, we have to talk about them in a locked room where the secrets can never get out. We have to put on a brave face and tell everyone that things are fine, even when they aren't. We have to be what we admire most, superheroes. Because superheroes are strong, and they don't struggle with doubt or guilt or depression. But that's not the case at all, because Heroes in Crisis is a story that shows that there's no such thing as superheroes, just people. People trying to get by the best they can, all while keeping a brave face, even when they're struggling on the inside.
That was amazing. That was wonderful. I could not have said that better myself. Thank you for your time. Your Honor, now I would like, with your permission, to begin my 2-minute discussion with the witness.
2 minutes starts now.
Alec, one of the things I wanted to talk to you about was the idea of a story challenging the reader and making a reader uncomfortable, pushing them beyond their comfort zone. How do you feel comics are these days when it comes to pushing readers beyond their comfort zone?
Well, we've been doing Old Comic Book Day book club on Wednesdays instead of New Comic Book Day book club recently, and you look at heroes back then, and they were much more two-dimensional. They had I don't know what you're laughing at.
I'm sorry, the chat. I'm not paying attention to the chat too. Sorry.
It's okay. They had specific traits, and if you strayed from them, then they weren't recognizable as the characters anymore. But now we see characters as being more three-dimensional. They have more to them, more realism, and it is, I think, makes certain people uncomfortable because they want their superheroes to be in that box. And when they're taken outside that box, it disrupts their vision of what they should be. Sure.
And I think maybe you can comment on this. The idea that the books we read seem to becoming simpler, not more complicated. That they're talking almost down to the reader. How do you feel about this comic versus what's commonly out there?
I mean, I don't think that you necessarily need something that is dense to be entertaining. This was pretty straightforward, but that shouldn't be something that is held against it because it's not just about the story. The story is there to service what is the bigger message for me.
And what is that bigger message for you?
Like I said, that this is a story about characters becoming.
I appreciate your time. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And I'll pass you on to Jason. He's going to give a couple of minutes of questions for you as well.
Jason, your 2 minutes starts now.
Okay. So you agree then that the story was not good, but instead you're focused on the allegory of what it means.
I didn't say that.
You did, though.
That's leading the witness.
It's not. And you said it. I'm simply declaring what you said. Yeah, I agree that it could be an allegory, absolutely, but I would say it's more of an allegory for rebirth and Jeff Johns' writing and the old characters that we love that we brought back being bad, and now it's these new changes in the guard back to how it was in New 52 under Dan DiDio. But that is the allegory of what I understood it. I'm glad that it talks about mental health, and that's a subject on it. But I think it was done very wrong. I mean, that's in my opinion. Do you have a favorite issue of Heroes in Crisis?
Yeah, I really like the one where Booster and Harley start fighting, and then kind of like crash down together, and they're like superheroing is hard.
Was that issue 1?
Was that issue 1? I think it was maybe.
Issue 1 was where like they're up in the sky and she stabs him in the neck, and then they fall to the ground.
No.
Nope.
It's later on. I forget exactly what issue it is. I'm sorry.
It's okay. While Batgirl is on the side. I don't mean this doesn't have to count as part of his time. It's while they're watching Batgirl and Blue Beetle are watching them fight.
Right. Yeah. When they all four of them get together.
Do you think it was out of character for Blue Beetle and Batgirl to watch a killer, Harley Quinn, fight a possible other killer and not intervene or do anything about it?
Well, what is out of character? That's the point I'm trying to make, is that these characters are becoming human and they don't have to necessarily always behave exactly the same way in every situation.
In the story, these two are both accused of being murderers, and yet these two heroes, Batgirl and Blue Beetle, watch objectively and watch them fight it out to the death, and they just don't do anything. Instead, Batgirl punches out Blue Beetle. It's ridiculous. It makes no sense whatsoever. It's out of character.
I mean,
I didn't hear a question. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the question too. I'm getting a lecture. I'm actually going to call out the chat because TJ Slabdragon Watson was asking, "Where's the question?" I'm seeing a lecture.
And Gray Matter Hulk agrees that you're leading the witness.
We're at time,
All right.
so we're going to call
That's
that
fine.
right there.
That's fine.
I also got one other comment in the chat that I'd like to throw out there that I was reading. Jack Yo says these guys are forgetting about the characters all being completely misrepresented and getting all starry-eyed over the PTSD gimmick. I don't know who wants to use that for either way, but that's just out there from the chat.
I'm sure it will come up again at some point because we're about to get Mr. Drew Manchu. But first, thank you, Alec from Whitewell Comics, for participating in this. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Whitewell.
Read more comics.
There you go. Great job, Alec. Okay, next we're going to go to Jason, your witness.
I've just summoned Mr. Drew Manchu, so hopefully he will log in here soon.
All right, really quick, I want to get to the chat and just thank everyone for showing up. It looks like Cat Ren Figures is here. Jason from JP's Budget Collecting, and it looks like Mr. Biggie Shack has got himself a new channel called Dr. Biggie Shack Comics. Go ahead and hit his little logo there and go to his channel and sub that up so we can get him all caught up there. Randy Raznik is also in the chat. Thanks for joining us tonight. And do we have our next witness? Is he ready?
Oh, I'm as ready as I could be, JB. I tell you
There
that much.
is a timer, Drew, and we will abide by it.
All right, you let me know when that timer starts, my friend, and I will start my time.
Jason, are you ready?
Yeah.
Here we go. Go.
I got 2 minutes right now, guys, to tell you about Heroes in Crisis and where it fails us, the comic book fan. It fails us over and over and over again, 9 issues at a time. The art is wonky. The story is nonsensical. The time travel is physically impossible, and all of it means absolutely nothing. It turns Wally West, our beloved symbol of hope from Rebirth, it takes him and it turns him into a murderer. Not only does he use the Speed Force to explode everybody, he also kills Lagoon Boy with severe malice aforethought. He stabs him with some sort of spear through the chest. It's evident in issue number 3 of Heroes in Crisis. Also, this story is about Wally West breaking confidentiality between a doctor and a patient, and it is seen in the end of this story as a good thing. It's a HIPAA violation, is what this is. He doesn't believe that anybody else could be in his situation, which makes him seem stupid, which he's not. He goes through a convoluted plot where he frames 2 people, murders Lagoon Boy with malice aforethought, and it takes him 5 days to enact this plan. Why? Also, this story can take place. This story that's said to focus on mental health, but instead focuses on showing us Batgirl and Harley Quinn as sexy as they have ever been. The Clayman art pays such detail and attention to camel toes and bulges that it doesn't give you any room for levity when you're looking at this story through the lens of mental health, which is all disrespected by one thing and one thing alone, is that it ruins the confidentiality of therapy. This is about Wally West being a murderer, being a really, really terrible cover-up artist, and making...
Jason, no.
So Jason, you now have 2 minutes to
2 minutes to
converse with your witness.
Okay.
Go.
Yeah, like honestly, when we started this, like I don't even care about winning. What's that?
Questions.
Okay. Yeah, honestly, when we started this, like I didn't even care about like winning. It's like not even a thing. Like it's more the put into question. Like I can't believe anyone in their right mind would actually enjoy the story. It just all sanctimonious bullshit. There's so much bad poetry, and there are quotes that are misquoted or misrepresented. Like I have even nothing to even like ask you because it's so absurd and ridiculous. Like even like Lagoon Boy, when he got shot through an arrow, when the hell did that happen? I thought
issue number 3.
That
happened in issue number 3.
Yeah, that happened in 3. But like he lost control of the Speed Force and exploded everyone. So he resurrected Lagoon Boy and threw a spear at him. Like, what is this nonsense? There's so much weird bullshit that doesn't add up. The continuity, Speed Force isn't a goddamn thing in here. You can't time travel. He resurrects Poison Ivy. What the fuck is that? Do you have any other continuity issues or any other beefs that you want to express?
The biggest continuity issue for me is the fact that Narc, the cave boy, speaks in the third person in broken English, but somehow quotes Keats quite fancily. Has absolutely no problem with that, and that to me is very upsetting.
In Titans, he was speaking normally too. So
exactly, I was also very upset by Harley Quinn being able to best the Trinity, because obviously she learned all kinds of skills that she's never had before. So
and Superman said that she was better than Batman too.
When has that happened?
I don't know. It's all just very dumb to me. And honestly, like it's so weird to do this in a trial setting because like I don't have any questions. I never even wanted to have a trial per se. It's just that's when
it's preposterous to think any other way. It's preposterous. It's yeah, when somebody tells me they like Heroes in Crisis, I believe that they're trolling.
Time. All right, John.
I got to start by apologizing. I'm so sorry that a Keats quote bothered you so much. But let's move on. I wanted to save some time here and just ask you sort of yes or no questions to. I found some reviews. I know I'm not a big critic fan of what critics have to say, but I thought you would agree with some of these reviews, and you can kind of give me a yes, I agree with this, or no, I don't agree with this. So I'll just run through a few here. There is no central plot to this comic.
Yes, I agree.
There's only forced random fight scenes.
Yes, I agree.
There's an out of place climax to the story.
No, I disagree. There is no climax to the story.
A misuse of the central character.
Yes, I agree.
There is no central character. I'm sorry.
There's also no central character.
Yeah. 2 minutes.
The central cover character, yes.
So I just want you to know, those are all quotes that describe Batman Dark Knight Returns. And I'm pointing this out for a reason. I think it's possible when that came out, people felt very strongly that that misused Batman. And people hated it because Batman shouldn't have a gun. Batman shouldn't kill people. And now the same things are being said about Wally West. Wally West shouldn't do this, and Wally West shouldn't do that. Yet when we look back at Batman Dark Knight Returns, people seem to feel very strongly that it is the best version of Batman ever created. I'm kind of curious if you feel like the people upset about Wally West are people that are purists and unwilling to accept Wally West in any other way.
I refuse to answer that leading question.
You're unwilling to answer that.
I refuse to answer a leading question.
People hated Dark Knight Returns when it first came out.
People still hate it.
And my question to you is it possible that people feel the same way about Wally West for the same reasons?
For the same reasons? No, it's for different reasons. It's because
Explain.
Tom King did not write a good story with Wally West. People believe
said the same thing about Frank Miller. That he wrote a crap story.
That's fine. Those are two totally separate reasons. One is Frank Miller misexecuted his plan, and one is that Tom King misexecuted his plan.
Time. Well done, gentlemen. Well done.
I want to thank Mr. Drew Manchu for his time. Drew Manchu, you are awesome. His channel is in the link below. He was on the auction earlier this evening. He is a super member of the Comic Corps, and I appreciate your time, sir.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, chat on to Chakyo in the chat.
I'm gonna throw a link to Mr. I Got Issues real quick here. And if you want to shout out anything in the chat, Mr. Discovery
I do, actually. There's a couple of comments here that oh man, I lost that one. Okay, a couple of comments here that I wanted to address from the chat. Let me see what we got here. Cat Ren Figures says poison ivy is a plant. They use the rose from her like cutting a plant can be regrown from. I'm cool with that. Interesting. Okay. Then over here we've got Control-V. I gotta read this one. Bear with me. Comic Head 84. Can we address the odd dialogue? Issue 4, Issue 7. 4 different characters used like 9 times. King made the heroes speak like thoughts.
THOTS.
THOTS.
Yeah, not like you're thinking it. I do believe my next witness is going to talk about a little of these things. We have Mr. I Got Issues, the original panda of the comic book community.
Are we ready?
Yeah, you ready? Chris, can you check your mic? Make sure we can hear you.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Okay, so whenever the judge says you're ready, you get your 2 minutes.
Go.
If one of the bigger arguments against Heroes in Crisis rests on how this story affects characters and continuity, then its purveyors become nothing more than old men yelling, "Get off my lawn," at a younger generation of readers. In a comic world where continuity is more a running joke than an actual linchpin to storytelling, it's laughable to think the greatest error in this miniseries is that it changes things. Amongst DC alone, ongoing stories like Batman, Detective Comics, Superman, and Action Comics share zero continuity amongst each other, let alone other miniseries like Deceased or Doomsday Clock. Furthermore, ongoing series have faced multiple resets at DC's hands alone. They've seen absolute cancellations to reboots and all-out backstory changes like Superman under Bendis. So this series has done nothing more than what every comic prior to it has sought to do. Keep the story moving, keep it fresh, don't get stuck in the same old diatribe. Furthermore, to those saying they're upset with characters that were killed, please tell me the last time you read that character or felt their presence in a book. For the majority of them, their feature and death in this series is the greatest notoriety they've ever had. And for those that complain about Wally West and that he was ruined, I heard the same complaints about Hal Jordan, and they didn't last. But I do know what the past holds for Wally West: a death, a rebirth, a lost family, a muddled storyline, and the lack of a successful solo series since the early 2000s. So what true harm exists in allowing comics to be what they are supposed to be? Great experiments.
Thank you very much, Chris.
Well done.
That was wonderful. I really appreciate your time. And now I get a couple of minutes to ask some questions, Your Honor, whenever you're ready.
Start now.
Chris, we talked a lot on the side about character continuity and the way characters change. And you mentioned Wally West and you mentioned Hal Jordan. I think the idea of Hal Jordan in Emerald Twilight is very relatable. Can you draw some comparisons for people?
Well, I think when you talk about Hal Jordan and his turn in becoming Parallax, what a lot of people hated was the one thing you kept hearing people say over and over again is Hal Jordan would never do stuff like that. Hal Jordan would never do that. We get stuck as fans of a character that we think we own them. Like, we think we wrote them. We think we know everything about them, and therefore they couldn't possibly do something that each of us as an individual deems out of character, because we've decided that we are the gatekeeper of what that actually means. And so Wally West did something that people think is out of character, but who is this character? Because he's a completely different person than he was in the past.
Yeah, talk a little bit about that too. How has Wally West changed in your mind that maybe other people can't appreciate?
Well, I just think, people talk about that other series he's been in and in Titans that he didn't have this like changed persona or this feeling of loss. But I think Tom King is just capitalizing on something that other writers didn't acknowledge. When you have a character who lost his wife and children, they should be affected by that. And for you to say that they couldn't do terrible things based on that loss, isn't that who Frank Castle is, the Punisher? Isn't that what's been a common standpoint in a lot of characters? Batman wouldn't be Batman without the loss of his parents as a child. So loss really dictates how characters grow and what they become.
Absolutely agree. And I like the comparison to Frank Castle. Could you imagine Wally West going on from here and having other shockings?
Absolutely. He could become a villain. I mean, we just don't know. We don't know what the future holds.
Excellent job.
Thank you so much, Chris.
Excellent.
And now Jason's going to have a couple of minutes to ask you some questions before we move on.
Jason, I'm looking for questions.
Not going to happen, bro.
Start.
Yep. So I don't care that Wally West killed people. That's fine. But it's how he did it. It's these made up abilities that there's rules and laws to the DC universe, the way things work. Without that, without laws, then it's just a Wild Wild West or a shit show. And this is a shit show. Same thing. Issue 1, you talk about Green Lanterns. There's a dead Green Lantern on the floor. What happens when a Green Lantern? What happens when a Green Lantern dies, JB? Let me fucking finish. What happens when a Green Lantern dies?
I don't know. You tell me.
You don't read Green Lanterns? You know what happens with Green Lanterns when they die?
I don't read Green Lantern, no.
Their rings fly off to Mogo, and it reports back what happened, and it finds another lantern. It would know exactly what happened and recorded everything that Wally West did and report, and the Guardians would be there immediately. Or a whole entire Lantern Corps would be there immediately to stop everything that happened. This whole entire story is bullshit. It doesn't make sense. And that's just one little part in one issue. Whether it be artist mistakes or not. I mean, there's laws and regulations. That's fine. The characters can act however they want out of character, but their abilities and giving these weird new access to things, that's
Hey,
where
can
I
I
have a
just
problem.
interrupt and ask if
Question.
it's going to be 2 minutes of Jason talking, I could just
No, I need a question, Jason. I need a question.
All right, what's your favorite issue then? What's your favorite issue of Heroes in Crisis?
Issue 7 is my favorite issue.
Issue 7? Is that the last one? No, it's actually 9 is the last one.
No, but issue
Issues,
9
okay.
is the last issue.
Alrighty. And that one, Wally West had the Speed Force. He used the Speed Force to resurrect Poison Ivy, and he ran through the internets. Did you not have a problem with these new abilities?
Question.
Well, what is a new ability, and who dictates that? You said previously that DC has a set rules. They don't. That's the whole point of comic books. There are no set rules. The Speed Force has done insane things. A solid piece of the Speed Force could be used to transport to another planet. Who made that up?
But the Speed Force isn't a thing. The Speed Force.
Oh, that's against the rules.
Hostile witness. Hostile witness. The Speed Force doesn't exist right now. You can't access it.
All right. Done. Quickly, go to the chat. We've got Preaching Comics in the chat that says, is there a question whether comics should deal with emotional?
I just wanted to thank I Got Issues as well for coming. For
how well that story is told.
His link is in the chat below, just the same as Discovery Bay and Jason for Comics Misexplained. All the links for these channels are in the description below. I have emailed your next witness, and I have sent a little message, but I'm not sure if she has gotten it as of yet.
Oh.
Okay, no, it's fine.
So sorry to interrupt, JB. You can go back to the chat if you need.
All right, so let's go quickly back to the chat. I see Mylar Madness says, make him spend the night in the lockup for his outburst. All right, we got Woodard in the chat. Great stuff. Marvel Joe 67, order in the court. Tank collects. Says White Whale, he's loving it. DS, this whole court is out of order. He's talking to TJ. All right. Looking good, looking good. All right, here we go. Are we ready?
Hold on. First of all, I want to say this is like last minute, so I didn't know I had to like prep something. Jeez.
I wanted to say too, thank you for coming. She just did an hour-long breakdown with some on her channel for Heroes. If you do not get enough Heroes in Crisis from this hour, please go to her channel, and I will add the link for her channel because she was a last-minute ad, so we will make sure that people know. But if you want to leave a comment in the chat, D Comic Queen Nat, she can do that, and then people can find her channel real quickly. So thank you for your time. Sorry.
Gentlemen, what were our rules about witnesses contaminating the jury pool?
They are not allowed.
Drew, watch the comments.
They're allowed to comment in the chat. They can't vote when
that's right. There's no vote. Never mind.
They can't
comment
vote.
Away, Drew. Comment away. Your vote's no good anyway.
Yeah.
All right.
There's 3 on one side and 3 on the other. We balance each other out. None of the witnesses or lawyers need to vote in this case.
Okay. Ready?
So, Natalie, you're going to get a couple of minutes to just
talk 2 minutes.
Comic.
2
Hold
minutes.
on. Do what? I'm doing what? What?
So you have 2 minutes to just expound on your thoughts of the comic and what was not working for you, why it's not good. You have a couple of minutes, and then Jason will ask you a couple of minutes worth of questions to kind of guide you through what he wants to talk about.
Okay.
Go.
All right. Why it was not good. Like John said, I just did a whole hour on this. So there you go. Go watch it. No, I'm joking. Okay. So I heard Alex said earlier that the whole point was Sanctuary. The whole point of the comic was Sanctuary. It was there to help. I guess that's what people took from it. But to be honest, Sanctuary, it doesn't work. Like, it didn't even work. And I think the series fails as a whole because of this whole thing. Tom King, I think, had a vision. He, wanted to talk about mental health, and he could have done great with it. He could have taken a different direction and expanded on the whole mental health aspect of it. But Sanctuary, to me, it didn't help. Wally was suffering, and you see it throughout. Like, I think it's when he starts doing his confessions. You just see week after week, he's not getting any help, and you see it with Lagoon Boy. You see it with all the other confessions. So what you do see is that having a friend does help. You see Poison Ivy helping Harley Quinn. You see Batgirl helping Harley. You see Booster Gold and Blue Beetle. So I think what was wrong with the whole thing was that Wally didn't even have somebody, and Sanctuary should have been better thought out by having some sort of person there to help. It shouldn't have just been machines. It should have just been, hey, just talk to no one, talk to nothing, and you can go wherever you want and fix your own problems. That's what it seemed like to me. But the story seemed really underdeveloped. It pushed Wally too far, and I didn't like. To me, they ruined his. No.
Oh, he's counting down. Okay.
That's all right. You still get two. Jason,
2 more minutes,
2 more minutes of talking with you, asking you questions. So if you
All right.
you going on what you're saying,
We can get Jason to ask you a question. You can answer it.
All right.
Go.
Okay. Yeah. In Sanctuary, we know it's supposed to be a place for healing. But did you see anyone really get healed during this story?
No.
Yeah. It was supposed to be built with the compassion of Wonder Woman. Did you see any compassion whatsoever?
No. And the fact that it was destroyed within the first issue that we hear about it, it was kind of pointless. The whole thing, to me, it was like a joke. So, you know.
Did you see any therapists in there whatsoever?
No, and I think that could have really helped. It could have
I've
helped a
seen,
lot
like,
of those heroes.
I feel like this danger room, this panic room they're in, it was just more about self-harm than anything. Very strange. And also the security of Sanctuary in general, Harley Quinn wasn't even supposed to be there.
Yeah.
And yet she broke into the most high secure place. What else did you have a problem with Sanctuary or in general?
Just that, like you said, being alone with yourself, especially when you're dealing with a lot of problems, I think isn't good. And anybody that is in like mental health should know that. You shouldn't be left alone with yourself.
Do you feel like Heroes in Crisis made it seem like people with mental issues are a danger to society? Because it seems,
Yes, actually, I saw that at the end, and I didn't like that. I felt like Tom King was saying that people that needed help, that if they did get help, it wouldn't have done anything, like it wouldn't do anything to them, and also that they were a danger to other people and themselves.
do you feel like this further hurts the stigma of mental illness?
Yeah, definitely.
Would you say that Tom King failed in presenting what his goal was?
Yes.
did Drew call my questions leading?
Time.
Stating facts. Stating facts.
Time.
I want to get.
And the chat is actually awesome. I mean, if you're reading some of these comments, Chris Barrett is just killing it right now, and Issues is killing it right now, and Drew Manchu is killing it right now. This is awesome. You guys are great. Okay, 2-minute cross. John starts now.
Nat, you mentioned a lot about the function of Sanctuary, right, and kind of how it works. And I would argue, and maybe you can throw out your comments, that does the Sanctuary fail because it's a flawed system in the idea that, like, how could they possibly have a system that works, and that this is the best that maybe they could come up with?
Are you serious?
A superhero needs anonymity, don't they? A superhero needs anonymity. So to have a therapist implies a therapist would know all their identities. You trust one person with all that information?
Well, then they would know. If they told anybody, they could easily just.
So you're saying it'd be better to trust somebody with all that information?
No, what I'm trying to say is that people should know what helps. Like if you're telling.
What helps a normal person is going to be different than somebody with these kind of powers in these kind of situations. You can't necessarily equate those therapy needs the same, right?
But if you're treating these people just like regular people, which is what they're doing, then maybe you should take the approach of they need a psychiatrist as well, because they're human as well. Yeah, they're dealing with
Well, so you're saying that they're trying to treat them like regular people? Because I would argue
No, that's what
they're
you're
trying
saying.
no, I would say they're trying to give them anonymity with the masks. They're trying to give
Judge.
these high-tech systems. So then, is the design of this system different because they're heroes?
Well, yeah, it is.
So then we can't expect the same system then that a human would use to be applied here.
I know, but also the system that they did use was very, very flawed. And I think they should have had, and also the heroes knowing that Wally needed help in the future instead of going to the
Time.
Thank you, Nat, for coming impromptu and joining
Yes.
us. You are awesome.
Yes, thank you.
If you guys don't know The Comic Queen, you should definitely subscribe to her channel. And thank you very much for joining us. You are awesome.
Excellent. So that is it for the witnesses.
Yes, your honor. Yes, your honor.
Okay. So
Remember what
at this time, we are going to go to closing statements. And I do believe that Jason won the coin toss on closing statements, and he will go first. And this is a 3-minute timer, right?
Yes, your honor.
Starting now.
Okay. As you guys saw tonight, I mean, you can make your own opinion on who had the better court processing or better questions or the better speeches. But if you read Heroes in Crisis yourself, you know that it is just trash. And as you heard Drew Manchu and The Comic Queen, you know, they agree. Yes, White Whale and I Got Issues may have had some okay points, but it was mostly things that they weren't too concerned about the continuity or the rules of DC. Their excuse was, it's comic books. Anything can change anytime. You can just make up anything. There's still rules that we have to abide by. We still abide by rules in our society. We abide by rules here in the courtroom. And I really wish, you know, they would kind of change their minds on that and not be so loving toward it just because it's Tom King or it talks about mental health issues. There's plenty of comics right now that talk about mental health issues. I hear Unstoppable Wasp is a good example of how mental health is written well. I hear it's a good comic to read, which I want to check out. I keep getting recommendations to read Unstoppable Wasp, so I'm going to check that out to see how good it could be. But yeah, thank you all for joining us, and we're going to close. And John, if you want to take over now.
All right, hold on. I got to reset the timer.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Johnny, ready? I'm
Yeah,
letting you type to this.
yeah.
I know you practiced. You better make it fit.
Yeah, John practiced, by the way.
Go.
I would say we've heard a lot of heated arguments here, and Drew Manchu in the chat just shouted out that I'm arguing opinions. And yes, because that's what we're here to do. We are arguing opinions. There is no other side to this. This is all about opinion. And I'm arguing the minority opinion, an opinion that I think might not actually be that minor. Hopefully nobody felt attacked. Nobody felt like their opinion was diminished, because I'm here for the opposite of that. Some people think that maybe the fact that we're arguing like this is a sign of a successful piece of art because it stimulates a conversation. And the conversation is centered around, can heroes be significantly flawed? It's a question that's as old as story. So the argument against DC for a long time has been that their heroes were gods. They were infallible and unfeeling. In a word, you could say inhuman. And I think what King is trying to do here is to humanize heroes, to show that this kind of violence can have and should have repercussions. Certainly for Wally West, that was overlooked a little bit. For DC purists, that can be really frustrating, but it's worth looking at this entire story simply because it questions those preconceptions. Is the goal of good art to challenge what you think, or is it to force you to question how you feel? I certainly hope so, because those are the books that stick with me. I am not here to tell you that you love this story and you should think it's the greatest thing ever, because I don't even think it's top 3 Tom King. Instead, I'm asking you to allow for the opinion that it's good. And that's it. The bar for this is this book good? I think it is, because it forces you to deal with truths. And that's what makes it powerful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, John. Well done. Okay. We have now listened to the information presented by both sides in this dispute. The jury of the chat will now consider all of this information before making their pronouncement. You cannot vote until I type in the chat, begin voting. I will allow a few minutes of time for everyone to vote before typing voting closed, at which time we will tally the votes in between those two marks and declare the results of this trial. Because both sides of this debate have been represented by 3 people, they can abstain from voting as their votes balance each other out anyway. So, either you consider Heroes in Crisis guilty of being bad, and you type guilty, or you consider it innocent of these crimes and a good comic book, and you type innocent. No other votes will be counted, and anyone who votes more than once can be discounted at the discretion of the judge, which is me. So, watch it. In the case of a tie, it will be a mistrial, and we can decide later if we want to repeat this process. So, let me get to the chat here. And what am I supposed to write?
Begin voting.
Begin voting. Go to the chat.
People are already trying to vote. Look at them
Nope.
already going.
Only in between the 2 marks.
You gotta
everybody.
wait.
Only
You
in
have
between
to
the 2
wait.
marks. Begin voting. 2
There
minutes.
we go. So if you have voted before he said something, you can
It
still
will not
vote.
be counted.
It won't be counted unless you put it after his comment.
All right.
This is kind of the like game show portion. Da, da, da. I will.
Oh yeah, play the song.
Yes, I should play the music again from earlier. I will say, huge thanks to the chat for coming and doing this. I thought this was a way more entertaining way than simply just debating the comic. Is to do it like this. Thanks to Jason for being willing to use up so much of his time to like, and he's a busy guy. He's working. You know, I just appreciate him taking the time to do this because this is a kick in the pants.
Like I really wanted to just have like a discussion on this, like, and it would have been awesome having people just yell over each other. It would have been fun. But like, this is a total like new spin. I thought it was like a brilliant idea, John. Like, this is so fun. Like, I'm bummed. I didn't prepare more, but honestly, I didn't really want to. I wanted to have an open discussion. You know, I want to get people's honest opinion and like understand why they like this series. And so it was nice hearing, you know, Alec and Panda. You know, I got issues to talk about why.
And Drew and his thunder. I always love hearing Drew bring his thunder.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, I really would like to have another discussion where we actually talk about our discrepancies and beefs and try to come to conclusions. You know,
sure.
But maybe at a different time. You know, but
and if possible in the future later, we might do another comic court. And but whenever you're ready, JB, you can cut off voting whenever you feel like it.
Okay.
But yeah, here's the music again for those that want it.
Voting is closed.
All right, you got to tally it up there, JB. You're on the tally.
I need help tallying, to be honest with you.
It's 2 minutes.
Because I don't want to
people in the chat.
I can't tell. From my count, I had 5-5 in a mistrial.
Uh-oh.
Nice.
Go in the chat there and see.
So
See where it happened. See where your voting closed and voting started came in. Let's see here. Okay, begin voting. Let's see. I need a piece of paper or something to write on here. I'm getting lost. Okay. We can all do our independent count, I suppose. But
yeah, I'll try to do the guilties. Okay. And then there was some confusion too. Biggie Shack was wondering if John is guilty side or innocent. I think he didn't
I'm on the innocent. I'm on the innocent, and Jason is on guilty of being bad.
Yeah. If you think Heroes in Crisis is bad, if you think Heroes in Crisis is bad, then vote guilty. If you think it's good, then vote innocent. That's pretty much what we're saying.
Yeah, because every time it refreshes, it pushes me all the way down to the bottom. I can't get a count. 1, 3 innocents, 2 guilties. 5.
I think I got 9 or 10 guilties.
Innocents.
Somebody shouted mistrial.
Yeah, Joe Ryan.
Joe Ryan Comics said mistrial.
Voting closed. All right. It's really close. I thought you'd kick my butt in this.
No, I mean, I think you definitely had a better case, presentation. But I mean, I think I think the comic would speak for itself because it wasn't about like the court proceedings or who did the better case. It's supposed to be people's opinion on whether they think it's good or not.
Right?
What do you got?
I'm curious.
All right,
Yeah, I think
it's
John might have
12-9.
won. I think most people
I had
think it's
12-9.
good.
That's what JP got 12 innocents, 12-9 innocent. And White Whale says 12 innocents. DK has confirmed it. Innocent. And hold on.
John, Tom King is innocent.
Hold on. I gotta read.
I don't think he's ever been called innocent in his life.
I gotta read. Okay. Ready? Order in the court! Order in the court! Based on the results from our esteemed jury, you, the chat, we have come to the following verdict. Heroes in Crisis, written by Tom King. That's the wrong one.
Scroll down. I honestly put his first because I thought there was no chance you'd need money.
There's no way. Okay, one more time. He put, I doubt you'll need it, but here's the other possible outcome. All right. One more time. Order in the court. From our esteemed jury, you, the chat, we have come to the following verdict. Heroes in Crisis, written by Tom King, is innocent of being a bad comic. It will henceforth be considered so in this community. Opinions are, what is that?
I don't know. I'm not looking.
In this community, are sarcastic in this community. But know that the highest court in all of YouTube has declared this the truth. Court is adjourned. Thank you all for participating. Good night.
Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Thank you, guys.
Woo!